Well, hi guys and gals, it's me, George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and Happy New Year to you all. Well, I've been puttering around on the Goofy cart, and I think the day has finally come that we have to let go of the procrastination and give it a try. So I have some gasoline here mixed with a little Marvel Mystery Oil, because this hasn't been run in a long time. Going to give it a little squirt in both carburetors, and hopefully it'll fire off, and then we should be able to see gas coming up through the fuel lines. I have my fuel line tucked into the fuel tank sitting over here on the side. You can see it right there. Yeah, that's it's just a regular gas can, and it happens to be my gas can for my chainsaw and my weed whacker and those kind of things. So it's 50-to-1 mixture, and I purposely have done this because I want the engine to get well lubricated when we're starting it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let's finally get up into the 40s today. It's been down in the 30s. I have my electric heater going here in the shop. 2 electric heaters. Anyway, without further ado, pull both chokes out like that, and hopefully let me check and make sure I'm down into the gasoline here. Yep, I am. See what happens. Almost sounds like it's got no spark. They say that you should work smarter than harder. Spark plug wire wrench. I have Raja ends on here, and let's see if we get some spark. I don't see any spark. Well, let me disconnect the wire that goes to the ignition. You remember that on this, the only thing the ignition switch does is ground out the coil. So that you can shut it off. Let's try this again. No spark. Well, let me double check a couple things and I'll bring you right back. It's a new coil. Should have spark. Well, this is electronic ignition, so the only settings there are on it is to make sure that you get your coil properly distanced from the flywheel, which has a magnet on it which actuates your coil. And I have my favorite gapper right there. Which is a piece of cereal box cardboard. Gives you the exact clearance that you need. So we'll double check it here. And I have it set. You can see that my wrench is grabbing being grabbed by the magnet. So we have it set right on the magnet. So it pulls it in right to where it wants to be. Alright, let's try that again. Got my spark plug wire pliers, all insulated. I may not be brilliant, but I ain't stupid. I see guys grabbing the wires, and well, I've done that in the past. Now let's see if I've got some spark here. Very faint, but it's there. Not happy with that. Let's try it again. Got gas kicking up out of the carburetors. We haven't had the valves out of it. Didn't have the pistons out of it. Didn't have the camshaft out of it. So nothing should have changed in the timing. And it ran fine before. Well, let me do a little more testing and I'll bring you back. Well, thinking back, I guess I might have taken the camshaft out of it, because I ended up removing the governor, and to remove the governor you have to pull the camshaft. We have all of our other things done that need to be done. I re-machined my adapters for my chrome air cleaners that screw down on top, and when I machined the outside diameter, I also countersunk where all the screws go down in so that it's flush, so that now when we put our unit on for coordinating our two carburetors, it sits right on there, and I'm not going to have to mess around with the other washer that I was going to use temporarily. So that's done. You can see we have our radiator shell mounted back in place, and our custom hood ornament, and our big G in the middle of the grill, and it's all anchored with these two things here, as well as being anchored in the bottom where it was before. Originally, we had this unit screwed into the top of the radiator shell and screwed onto the top of the engine, but we got no place to anchor it on this engine, and so it's just as well. This is solid now, it's not going to move around. And because of the way our choke cables run, I had to drill holes through either side, and I put grommets in so that my cable runs through there, and that helps to keep it off of the flywheel, which is down inside there. Yep. And we have, I mentioned before, we have these Raja ends on our spark plug wires. These are an old-time spark plug wire, and the ones that were on it were very loose fitting, and these have a positive lock on them right in here, and it made it easy for me to recut the cables, so instead of them coming around and looping around coming back onto the carburetors, they come directly up. Carburetors come back up and go right to the spark plugs without huge loops going on, so it keeps things cleaner that way. And I replaced the red fuel line with clear fuel line up here. I was getting too much stuff going on, making it too busy. So with a clear fuel line, it also helps. We can see that our pumps, this is what these are, and they are working. So, and we got gas all the way up in there. And all we have right now, we just have our fuel line where they hook together coming down and just stuff down inside of this gas tank. And you've already seen the exhaust all done. I guess as long as I have to pull that back cover off, it'll give me an opportunity to finish cleaning and painting this and these parts here too, because they mount to that. And so it's actually hooked right into the ignition system now. And my battery, our solenoid, is down in there and all hooked up, hooked to the battery, and got plenty of power. You can see that I have rearranged some things. I used to have a toolbox over here with that bucket set to the side of it, and I had all of my cords and stuff hanging across, and so I've rearranged things and cleaned it up, and I have my wires all going down through this workbench, so that you just pull it out one and use the one you want, and it keeps the benches clean and clear. And the toolbox that was there, I moved over to here. So I have both of my main toolboxes side by side. And what was here was my parts washer. I'll show you that in a minute. And I've rearranged my Kennedy and Kennedy knockoff toolboxes that I have back here. They're all pretty much identical. Two of them are Kennedy and one is actually a Craftsman made by Kennedy. And so I moved them all over here, and I have rearranged them some. That this one here that's closest out has all my chrome and stainless steel fasteners like that, and my bushings and sleeves and small sprockets, keeping everything organized, you know. And I have to show you one more thing. You saw it as we were walking by the vise. Now this is my collection of knobs. Different sizes, different shapes, different configurations, wing nuts of all sizes and shapes. These all have come off of different pieces that I've disassembled over the years. And it's always good to have that kind of stuff in stock. You don't have to buy them, you know. They can cost you an arm and a leg. Well, come on back over here. Let me show you something here on my hot rod bench vise. This is a 5.5-inch Craftsman that I bought a bunch of years ago at in Minnesota at a estate sale. And you know, these have the little rod that goes through this piece here, and you pull it out this way and you tighten it, and you can never get it tight enough because they only stick out 3 inches at the most, and you end up putting a hammer against it to tighten it down. Well, I got tired of doing that, so I added on a wrench. I welded a wrench on here, but when I did it, I made the mistake of welding it on with the open end here, and that got tiresome after a while because you grab it and you know, bunching up your hand against it. So I decided I was going to put a shift knob on it. Well, I did that on that, but it still wasn't quite long enough, and I had it was coming way out here, so I redid it, and now easy swing and easy tightening, just like that. And I was thinking about putting this knob on that I had. It's an old brass doorknob actually, but I like the round knob better, so that's what we're going with. See the wrench that we're using? It's a vintage Dunlap. 1/2 and 9/16. So this knob has 3/8 threads in it, which is a 9/16 bolt. So I took a bolt out of my bolt bin and I welded it right into the socket end on here. And after I get it welded in, I put a nut on there because the threads are still a little too long. That works fine now. I just screw that right on there, and with that nut on top, you get lots of thread still, and it bottoms out. And there you have it, just like that. And you know, it's nice and soft and smooth in your hand. And for an old guy, it's always good to have more leverage, you know, more leverage. So there's a tip for you. I almost forgot to show you where I put my parts washer. That's just a piece of rigid insulation I have hanging in the doorway. Keep the heat in the goofy garage when I'm over there working. But we moved it right around the corner here. This is in my woodworking shop. So we have it all hooked up in here. And there used to be a shelf unit here. I moved it down there, and I've been rearranging things and putting all my tools there. I gotta do a major cleaning in here. This place is trashed. But, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. Yeah, we've been working down here too. Andrew was over here the other day and we got one of the doors hung. We're going to have to modify the one for the other side. And I've decided I'm going to extend the drain from my washing machine comes out there. I've decided I'm going to extend it all the way down, go right underneath my deck and come out the other side so I don't have to walk through the muck. This is just temporarily set up with this block. But this is the door. It used to be on the back of my house. And the nice thing about this is got screen in there, and this top storm window can go down. So in the summertime we can get some fresh air going in through there. And I have this door that my son-in-law picked up when he was making a delivery for the lumberyard he works for. They were going to throw it in a dumpster, and he said, no, I'll take it. Not only that one, but another one that matches. One is shorter than the other, but between the two, we'll have enough to make a door for here. And you can see I've already started packing things in here. I've got to rearrange things. I've got to get my miter saw out of there. Yeah, and other tools. But it's weather tight, and that's the big thing. One more thing to show you. Well, look at this. One more door, and we have one more door to go here. This door came from the dump, and because it's too tall for the opening, and you can't really cut these down very well, but it works, and it's the right color. And it has an automatic closer on it. But because the header is so low behind there, and because I have a header on, I have a sill on the inside at the bottom to help keep the water from going in. We still wanted a door closer. Look at them apples. Huh? If you put it back far enough, it actually holds the door open. All you gotta do is just pull it a little bit and it'll slam shut. That's okay. You should have heard it before I put the weather stripping on the door. But it does the job. Well, it's the next day And rather than pulling the motor apart, I decided to check and see if I had compression. And I do have really good compression. But I still had no spark. So we're putting the old coil back on, the original one. And we're going to give it another try. Certainly had plenty of gas. It's probably flooded. So now we're going to try and see if we have spark here or not, and make sure that that issue is solved. And if it is, all right then, let's try this again. Oh, might help if I took my kill wire off of the ground. There we go. Now let's see if it'll go. See the wobble in the flywheel? Here's the exhaust coming up from the carburetors. Not good. There's definitely something wrong with that flywheel. I'm going to have to take the radiator shell back off and pull that flywheel off and find out why it's wobbling so bad. Not a good thing. Well, at least we know it's going to run with 2 carburetors on it. Need some tinkering yet. Well, you all saw it. You all heard it. It ran. Starts good. But we got a problem with that flywheel. We're definitely going to have to pull that apart. So, and we got to clean up our coil. Who knows what went wrong with a brand new coil. But, yeah. Off to a fairly good start. At least we got it going and we figured out the problem. The first concern is to get that flywheel straightened out. That's certainly making it run and vibrate a lot, so it's not a smooth running engine this way. Thanks for following along with our progress. And yeah, well, there's always hiccups in these projects. We're working with old engines. That engine is probably, see, it's from the 80s, so it's 40 years old. So we'll see what happens. Worst comes to worst, we'll find another one and transfer all the parts over from this one to another one. Thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, thumbs up, sharing, all them good things. Till next time, this is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man. Well, that's not George, that's the engine. This is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man. Thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Here's looking at you kids.